Hello, my friends. The last few days or maybe week, I've kind of been pondering what is opening up in me and what I'm becoming more aware of. And then I always share with you here. I'm kind of just sharing as my unfolding takes place. And many times I can stitch back to what I have realized over the years, but it's always pretty fresh. It's not something I prepare or plan to do. So a few days ago, I think it was, I talked about how when when the veil starts coming off, or the skin, I think I mentioned, or maybe a layer of paint that we have identified ourselves with, then we are not aware of what is behind it, what else is here. And I shared that as this veil or this skin starts coming off, then I realized that that there is just love there. Behind it is love. So when this comes off in whatever way it comes off, then you will start realizing that love is living you, love is living me. But as long as we are identified with the skin, or the the misidentification, where we are identified as if we are separate from the divine or separate from love. So a lot happens in this layer of skin or paint, whatever resonates for you. And we want to be loving, right? We do things to be loving, and we want to be seen as loving, and we want to be loved. And that is because we are identified with the outer layer and we are not in touch. Of course, we are in touch with it also, but not enough to realize that that is actually the only thing that's happening. So when you start disidentifying with this, and part of that can be that you stop trying to be loving, trying to be good, trying to be liked, trying to be helpful, right? There's a lot of that. I hear myself saying trying to, because that's what we do. We've heard, well, I should be more loving, so I'm going to try and be more loving. And please keep doing that. don't stop that. But don't believe that that's actually the free. There's no real freedom in that, because there's still that layer of paint that is trying to be loving, and it's not the real thing yet. The real thing is there, but it has to go through a layer of a separate sense of self that is trying to be loving. So, but when we take off that layer, or when that paint comes off, then we are not needing to try anything, because it's just there and it's just doing its thing. So I was just thinking, when I sat down here today, just a few minutes ago, I was reminded of a book by Rumi called, I think it's called The Subject Tonight is Love. So I thought I should call this video today the subject to not the subject, the video, or the video today, or the subject today is love, because that is what's been really alive in me, and just a real curiosity, like what happens when you're not identified with this layer of paint or skin. Then I noticed that it's just love that wants to move. So it feels like the things that I do, I'm doing it because of love, not pernilla trying to love, but I'm just tuning into that, or I'm resting back into that. And then I just noticed that I'm going to say that I just want to be loving. I just want to let love lead the way. And it's quite different than when there is a pranilla element in there trying to do it. And I know we've all been identified with that, and that's probably much better than an identity trying to be mean or whatever, selfish or greedy. So that makes it a little more harmonious, of course, but it's still not the real thing necessarily. Although energetically, of course, it's in there. The part of us that wants to be loving is love itself, of course, but it still has to move through these layers, which is kind of ridiculous when you step back and look at it. It's like, why? Why do I even want to do that? Why do I want to be loving? Why does Pernilla out here, separate from love, want to be loving? Well, it's because I feel the love. I feel that's the longing for love. There's a longing to be love. And then when I am love, then love, being loving just happens. So a lot of what I've shared for a long time is about the longing, and we do need to embrace that sense of longing. And then the more we hang in there, then the love longing, it's the same, it is the same thing, really. Once you go in there, I can't find any separation in there. But then love just starts loving in a way that we are aware of it and know that it's not us who have to do anything to be loving. If we have to do anything, it is becoming aware of the skin that is basically preventing us from being loving. But there's more to it in my exploration here, because I'm realizing when I just let love lead, there is nothing in there that wants anything back. So it could be maybe in our work, you know, we do things hopefully because we love it, but there's always that end thing there. But you know, I have to get something back. I have to make money out of this. So the flow is flowing, the love flow is flowing. But then we do something here, right? That separate sense of self feels like, well, okay, I'm giving, I'm doing sessions, I'm creating things, I'm whatever it is that we're doing for a living, and we want something back. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I always want to make sure I'm not trying to bypass anything, but I am trying to just highlight certain things that I'm becoming aware of here. So it feels like this love just loves, and it just gives, and it just expresses. And there's nothing, I don't feel the need to do something so I get something back, because the love flow itself contains everything. And that includes my needs. I'm not fully experiencing that yet. Again, so don't think I'm talking about, you know, from up here. I'm just talking from here as I see it. But I also talk about it as I see things just drop away. The more I stay here in the love flow and just noticing, like, wow, this contains everything. This is the fulfillment itself. And I don't need to do something to get something out there to get my needs met. This is all, it's kind of an outgoing flow forever and ever. It's this flow of fulfillment that just expresses itself. There's nothing missing inside of it. So that if I open up to it, of course, I can't, I'm not putting myself to the side, as I think many of us have done in the past, like, you know, putting myself back in line, you know, and make sure everybody else gets first. That's ridiculous, because I'm not separate from the flow unless I do a little mind trick where I put myself outside of the flow. So let's not do that anymore. But the practice in it is to really feel that this flow is the love flow, because it is love. It just flows, it expands, it gives. and it cannot do anything else. That's its nature, to just fulfill and expand and give and express. It just does that. Love does that. And if I don't get in the way, then I will, of course, experience the beauty and the grace in that. So now you may wonder, well, Pernilla, how do you do that? I have bills to pay and I have this and that. Yeah, and so do I. And I'm still also hooked into that belief. But I'm also beginning to see through it in a way that I haven't done before. And that gives me a great sense of relief and joy and a deeper longing to surrender more, to surrender deeper to it, and not think I need to get out there and do marketing or whatever it is. I just want to flow with the flow. And again, I'm not saying that we don't charge for our work, whatever, however that looks, but we're not going to try and make it happen because it is already happening. So a better thing to do, which is what I'm doing, instead of trying to make it happen, I say, no, I don't want to do that because then I'm outside of the flow. So I have a way where I can say, no, thank you. I am done with that. And then I can go back into the flow and spend more time there. And then this love flow, it breaks down those barriers. Here's Rumi, right? There's the Rumi quote. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So I'm basically saying that now, and it's interesting because I'm getting the felt sense experience of that, but I'm also aware that there are still barriers, beliefs, part of the skin, part of the veil. But the more I stay here and surrender to the love flow, to the divine flow, um, and give myself to it, it's like thy will be done. Show me, and I'm part of that. That's not separate from me. And then it literally starts dissolving those barriers that I had built against it. And that made me believe that here's love, but then I have to go out there and make sure that my needs are met and I am fulfilled. So those barriers, they literally start dissolving, not because I'm doing anything. I am practicing just being in the love, being in the flow, in the divine expression and expansion more and more. And the more I do that, the more I see that a lot of this matrix madness is dissolving. And then I am able to see what is true more and more in a much more clear and joyful way, actually. So parts of me can relax deeper because I'm in the flow more. I hope this is, I may be a little fumbly today as I talk about it because I'm trying to find the words for it. So bear with me. But if it resonates, just see if you can start letting go more of the part that thinks it needs to make things happen. Do it in smaller areas of your life where, it's not going to put you out on the street or something or make you lose your job. Try it smart in smaller places or areas in your life where you can just see, well, if I don't do that, and if it's not going to work out, nothing dramatic is going to happen, but you're beginning to get that sense of your own flow, of the divine flow, of how love moves. And it simply is already the fulfillment that any and everybody looks for, as long as we're separate from it. Once we're not separate from it, it's like, why did I do that? What was that about? That doesn't make sense anymore. And then, of course, there's the remnants of the skin that are not fully on board with. And that's why we keep going back here and let that clear the veil. So that was my little introduction to the flow of love and how it basically is all there is once you're out of the veil. I'm sure there's a lot more, but this is what I'm seeing right now. That's my experience. And I like it. So give it a try, guys. Thank you so much.